to Tuesday, the 14th of February, is your Frontier opening bell with me, boasting number 5. This is how the markets, some of the big markets on the continent finished off on Monday. The Nigerian market eked out roughly 0.1%. We saw gains in Lafarge Africa, which is the third largest cement maker listed on the NGX, as well as Zenith Bank up by about 1.8%. That lifted the market for the first trading day a bit on a soft note, just to get the new week started. Last week, the stock market was up by about 2%. So year to date, we're doing roughly 6.1%. The BRVM also climbed much bigger than the Nigerian market by 54 basis points, 203.65 on the composite. The Ghana stock market also went up on Monday to start the new week as everyone began to adjust to the new local debt swap that the Ministry of Finance under Ken Ofori-Atta has put in place. The EGX continued that negative trajectory, which started with on Sunday, 1.85%, went down yesterday, much lower than that, about 0.4%. The Nairobi Bourse started the week about 27 basis points in the red. That's about 127.91 on the All-Share Index for the Nairobi Securities Exchange, while the South African market was up 0.91% in line 18 with the rest of the developed markets in Europe and on Wall Street, all ahead of today's U.S. inflation data for the month of January. Everyone is sitting on the edge of the chair. What will the CPI numbers look like when it's released later today by the United States? All that will keep everyone in focus. So let's look into East Africa, grab a few headlines. Of course, Flutterwave has been able to unlock his $50 million, roughly 6.6 billion shillings that's been on lockdown in Kenya. The authorities are going to court today to remove the order of freezing that billions of shillings of a Flutterwave, a fintech Nigerian company, which is doing business in Kenya and now looking to step into Egypt, the biggest economy north of the continent. Starlink and SpaceX satellite projects have taken off in Rwanda, but Uganda is warning wants best operational practices for the Elon Musk Starlink project to take off on the continent. And we've got news that Uganda's rational tax exemptions, according to the IMF, will likely make the country get more revenue. That'll be good news for President Yoweri Museveni's administration in Kampala. Let's take it all into West Africa, where President Buhari a few days ago signed Nigeria's new business facilitation, what we call an omnibus law, into a bill into law. The new act will now help Nigeria businesses, in particular the private sector, to have a whole lot more ease of doing business. One of the few signatories that Mr. President is putting on paper as he begins to wrap up his administration effectively out on March the 31st. May the 31st, I beg your pardon. May the 31st, then of course, a new administration will come in 1st of June 2023. And Nigeria's inflation for the month of January will be out tomorrow, Wednesday, the 15th, while the EFDB says it signed about $220 million development projects with Senegal in West Africa. The global airline sector grew about 89.2% last year. Africa accounts for just about 2.1% of that. If you look at the figure for Asia, that's a whole lot bigger, north of 300%. Everyone coming back out of the COVID-19 pandemic and flying around the world, jetting all around. But Africa's size of the market, global commercial aviation business, is still very small, 2.1%, a paltry. Then you have Yedo Ogoundele, who has been appointed the Director General of the UEMOAs Mortgage Refinancing Fund by the acronym CRRH, based in Côte d'Ivoire, and that's been announced. Congratulations to her for getting sitting on that chair. So what does Southern Africa looks like? News coming through today says Multichoice or Canal, French broadcaster, Canal Plus has increased its stake in Multichoice in South Africa to about 33%, while the Indian bank ICICI has exited South Africa. And Zambia is rejecting China's call to include the World Bank in the current debt negotiation being planned. President Hichilema is scrambling to get further aid into the country and resolve the debt problem that he inherited from his predecessor. But restructuring those deals and bringing everyone around the table, with China being the key creditor, remains a little bit naughty. The idea was to get Zambia to resolve these issues as quickly as possible in the new year and give the administration in Lusaka a new horizon. But that's becoming a little bit sticky. Zimbabwe's exchange-listed Econet Wireless, with the iconic and the biggest telecom company listed on the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange, says it's going to do a whole lot more investment in alternative power to help you resolve the problems Zimbabwe is facing as far as electricity is concerned. And not so good news for the ZAR's stock exchange. License has been withdrawn by the FSC in South Africa, and that's with the approval of the South Africa's Reserve Bank. The new exchange, the exchange is said to have liquidity and capital adequacy issues with the authorities, so the license being withdrawn. Let's check into the markets, the economies and businesses north of the continent. Let's start with the British Petroleum looking to raise its energy transition investment deal with Egypt to about $8 billion. North of that, that's according to news. In the meantime, Egypt Gas, listed on the Cairo Stock Exchange, reported a net profit of about 82% growth for the full year 2022. That came into about 301.9 million Egyptian pounds. And Morocco has banned vegetable exports to West Africa because it wants to contain local prices of those agricultural items. And Libya's oil ministry says the deal between Libya's NOC, which is the National Oil Corporation, as well as the Italian energy giant Eni, is expected to be more than $8 billion. The initial announcement came just a few weeks ago. Keep that in mind. That's about it for today on Frontier Opening Bell. I am Bosun Amafaye. Do have a profitable trading day, and I'll see you next time.